Go ahead.
So once we have the bezel soldered down to our base piece, went ahead and pickled it to help remove some of that fire scale. You'll notice that the satin finish that I had on the surface that I had done before gets a little bit rough. It's not scratched, it's just the shine on it. Once, if I have any sawing, soldering, or emerying to do, I would do that now before I do the stone set. But let's just say that I have done all that and I don't have anything else to do and I'm ready to get that stone set in there. I need to make some decisions about how high I want that stone to rest off the piece. So rather than take your stone and put it inside the bezel to test it, you've already tested it, so it should fit nicely in and out there. What I suggest you do is use a little piece of red sticky wax. You just roll that to a point, and that will be a nice way to kind of pick up that stone. It makes it much easier to do. And you kind of gauge the depth of that. And your goal is to have the stone rest inside the bezel so that about 40% of the stone is going to stick up outside. So that means I have to pack a cushion for this stone about 3/4 of the height of the bezel in order to make that work. If you have a translucent stone, you're going to pack that cushion with tin foil. If you don't have a translucent stone, sawdust works really well. So I have some dry sawdust right here and a little bit of water, and then this is kind of moist sawdust right here. I'm going to take some of that and I'm just going to get it put into my bezel. But before I do that, let's say that I don't want my stone to be that high off my piece. One of the things I can do is just take a flat file, whether it be a diamond file or a large equalizing file, and I can actually file down the top of my bezel. Remember, please do not do this with the stone inside there. File down my bezel, check with the stone outside until I get it the height that I want. If you do that, make sure that you go on the Fordham with kind of a cylinder diamond bit and clean up the inside edge of that, because you'll have little nicks of metal in there that can crack your stone. So let's say that I'm going to go ahead and keep this height. I'm going to be packing some of this sawdust in, and what I'm going to use is I'm going to use the end of one of the mandrels. You can use any mandrel that you use on the Fordham. It's got a flat end, and that makes a really nice way to kind of pack that down. You will get a little moisture as you pack down. If your sawdust is too wet, you have too much moisture in there, it's going to cause some problems. If it's too dry, it won't pack down in. So once I have that sawdust packed in here, I'm going to have to put the stone in to double check its height. Again, sticky wax works really well. I'm going to drop this in here. I need to go ahead and push down on the stone to collapse the sawdust and get any moisture out. And I have this about the height of the stone. So I do not have enough sawdust in there right now, so I'm going to continue. I'm going to grab a little bit of moisture on my finger. And that's too much. Bring this out here. You can use pliers to do this, or you can just use your fingers. Either way is fine. If you get too much in there, you may have to take some out along the way. Really important you do this right, because if you don't get this right and your bezel's too high, when you go to pull the walls of the bezel around, you're going to cover the entirety of your stone. So again, I push that down, getting a lot of moisture out of there. That's still too high, so I'm going to pack more in.